all of a sudden giving up 80 some odd. Are you guaranteeing that KC holds Barkley to under 100?
No, that'd be dumb. That's dumb. And I got to say, this is my fault because I was not on the morning call today. This feels like a wild question that all of us are going to say no to, that you wanted us to do. Because, no.
You confidently were like, that's not going to happen.
No, yes,
like, okay,
he's not going to wreck the game. I will sign up right now for Saquon Barkley having 108 yards in this game. I'll sign up for it. Like, and I do, so will I guarantee they hold him under 100?
Guarantee it.
No, that's ridiculous.
He's not even guaranteeing a victory, are you?
Well, let's wait for next week. Guaranteeing. What am I, Mark Messier?
Because he's been
and so
a little bit.
What I am guaranteeing is that he is not going to do what he has done to everyone else this postseason, which is run roughshod on them and set the Eagles up to be playing exactly the style they want to play from basically the opening snap. But Saquon is a great player who I clearly wildly underestimated going into the year. I'm not going to make that mistake again. But no, I think that would be a foolish guarantee to make. The over-under being set at 117, I think is a smart number. You know what I mean? I could see anywhere from, I think the lowest he could have is what James Cook had, 85, and I think the most he would have is 125. I just don't think he's going to have this monster game that dictates the entire game.
I certainly wouldn't try to guarantee it, but I was looking at these numbers, and these made me think, you know what, the Chiefs might hold him to under 100. Look at this. It's been 18 games since anybody rushed for 100. That was Lamar in the season opener. So running back to do it was 25 games. In the playoffs, they've gone 18 straight games without allowing 100 yards.
Guarantee.
And then the thing you think about, Saquon he breaks these 60-yarders. I will admit it's hard for me to see him doing that against the Chiefs, like having a 60-yard run. But I lean toward him somehow getting 100 yards because if you look at the graphic you had, James Cook and can't remember who, or Joe Mixon. The only reason they didn't get 100 probably is because they didn't get the carries. Saquon's averaging about 22 carries, and that's including last week against the Commanders when he didn't need to run a lot. So if he gets 24 carries, he probably will get 100. But again, I still have a problem seeing him getting like a 65-yarder against the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to guarantee it, but I don't think they have to hold him under 100 to win this game. But KC has allowed, like in their last, they've allowed 10 big runs of 20-plus yards this season. 3 in the first 13 games, 7 in the last 6.
Yep.
That's what he does. If he is going to hurt this team, he will have to have multiple big runs. It's not just the one because
you see
they
him
will
breaking
be able to
along like a 60-yarder.
If he breaks one, cool, but he would have.
Okay. That was a very quick little mini segment at the very end. They always love to do that, squeeze in a segment, right before a commercial break. Yeah, listen. Man. These Super Bowl segments it's a trip. I mean, I can't really remember. I vaguely remember last Super Bowl. It was technically the first time that I was really locked into these shows leading into the Super Bowl. But I feel like, that was really the very beginning of the channel. I don't even know if I had like 1,000 subscribers, honestly, at that point, because I only started posting in December. And so now, obviously, this time around, things are different. So now I'm like really locked in and watching everything. And I did remember from last season that it was just kind of like a grind. Those 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl is a grind. You're constantly trying to find content. And I don't even mean me, because I was only making so many videos back then, but just these guys. Like, they're trying to be like, okay, we got to talk about, people only care about these 2 teams. I've posted Dallas Cowboys videos, Raiders videos, Rams videos, 49ers, like all these other teams. Like, people just don't really care. You post an Eagles video or a Chiefs video and everyone's like, let's talk about it, because they're the teams that are playing. They're the ones the fans really care. The other fan bases are like, all right, I'm gonna like take a month off or so and check back into football maybe like in the spring or something. So we're really stretching out these types of conversations, and that's why like Nick kind of was like, this is kind of a ridiculous question, guaranteeing KC holds Barkley under 100. But like Greg said, he's like, I don't think KC needs to hold Barkley under 100 to win the game, just like how I don't think that the Eagles that Barkley needs to be over 100 to win this game. I do think Saquon Barkley will have a significantly harder time against the Kansas City Chiefs defense, because I think the Kansas City Chiefs defense will be the best defense that the Philadelphia Eagles faced, and certainly the best defensive coach in Spags. So I do think that is a thing, and I do think that the Chiefs are going to want to contain Saquon Barkley. I got that is going to be a main objective. From my viewpoint is like, I'm curious to see what Kellen Moore is going to do, because is he going to be like, aha, they're going to try to take away the run game and we're going to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball all day. He's going to have 40 pass attempts and we're just going to unload on them. Or is he going to be like, they're going to try to take the run game and we are going to do everything we can to make sure that we still establish the run in the way that we want. Like, again, it's one of those things where you're trying to be like, the whole, God, whatever that movie is where they have like the poison and they keep like switching it around, Princess, whatever it is. I forget, where it's like, aha, I knew you were going to say that I was going to switch it, and I knew that I was going to do it. And it was kind of that whole back and forth, constantly trying to guess what the other person is predicting and trying to predict of the prediction, and things kind of get messy. And just because of all that chaos, that's where I give the advantage to the Kansas City Chiefs and Spags, because they have obviously been there, and Spags, I think, is a brilliant defensive mind who has consistently proven that. Again, he stopped the undefeated, dominant offense for Tom Brady and the Patriots. They were hanging 40, 50-point games. They were just absolutely rolling teams. And it was Spags' defense that held them to like 14 points or, whatever the final score was exactly. So we know Spags knows what he's doing without a shadow of a doubt. And so if anyone's going to be able to really slow down Saquon, it's going to be him. But again, the question is what is the Eagles' mentality, game plan? Is Kellen more confident in being like, hey, they're really going to try to stop Saquon, and because of that, I know what we can do to now expose that defensive mindset, and then can Jalen Hurts execute? Can A.J. Brown execute? Can Devontae execute? Dallas Goedert, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or again, is the game plan being like, hey, guys, they're going to go all in on stopping Saquon, and we are not going to allow it, because that is going to be their game plan. And when we show them that they can't, it's going to be demoralizing. It's going to be like, this is what we worked on all week and we still can't stop him. We said that no 60-yard runs, and oh my goodness, he just went for 2 40-yard runs, and he already has a touchdown and he's got 95 yards going into the third quarter. Right? Like, is it one of those things? Or is it going to be in the beginning of the game where they really stop him and it's just like multiple tackles for losses? There's just nothing going for Saquon. The Eagles really got to find a way to get the run game going. Puts too much pressure on Jalen Hurts. Like, I could see Tom Brady saying stuff like that as well. So there's no guarantee. That's why the question is obviously flawed, like Nick even said. But I'm also not going to be with the same degree of confidence to act like Saquon Barkley won't be able to have any type of success, or that he won't be able to have moments where he really rips the heart out of Kansas City. Because if you're saying that, then you're essentially saying that the Philadelphia Eagles have no chance to win. And Nick doesn't even feel that way, because Nick himself has said, I think that the Philadelphia Eagles can win. He said that there was no chance that the Texans were going to beat them. He thought that the Bills had a chance, and that he thinks that the Eagles have a chance. But to be fair, he thinks that the Bills are better than the Philadelphia Eagles. So he thinks that clearly on a spectrum that the Eagles have a less of a chance to win than the Bills did. So, it's, I don't know. It's the advantage definitely goes to Kansas City coaching. I think the roster definitely goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then it's just kind of like, how is this going to play out? I keep saying that I think that the Kansas City Chiefs will have the best game plan going into this game, and that the Kansas City Chiefs will most likely be the most prepared. Do the Eagles have the roster where they can overcome any of the great game planning? Because again, you could have Andy Reid and Spags as your coaches, but if you have a D2 college team, doesn't matter who the coach is for the NFL, the NFL team's still gonna win. And again, so that's where this game kind of gets so interesting to me, because at the same time, I'm a firm believer that you can have a not such a great team and you can have a better coach. Like John Middlecoff said recently, that coaching matters so much that you could have, if you have clearly the best coaches going up against a better roster, that the better coaches will win significantly more times than people really realize. That more often than not, you rather take the better coaching staff than the better players. But again, that's why I use the high school analogy or D2, whatever I said, because sometimes the gap can be too much and it's kind of like, well, then you can't overcome it. Not to mention, it also depends on who the coaches are for the other team, which is why this game to me is so messy. I mean, it really is. It's really kind of messy because I see pros and cons, significant pros and cons for both teams on both sides of the ball. It's kind of really interesting. If you look at PFF, and this is how I know what I'm saying, there's a lot of truth to it, because if you look at PFF and they kind of have like their matchup tool or whatever, you'll see that like essentially every single matchup favors the Philadelphia Eagles, yet they have the Kansas City Chiefs favored to win the game. And again, the difference is coaching and having Mahomes as the quarterback over Jalen Hurts. But the matchup is technically more favorable in every other aspect in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. But again, coaching matters so much. And also, again, if you were to play this game 7 times and you had to guess which team would be the most prepared and which team is more likely to have a bad game, and just lay an egg, you would have to say that the Eagles would be more likely, technically. Again, I'm not saying this is my prediction. I'm just saying technically they would be more likely to just have a really bad game. It's hard to conceive that the Chiefs are going to go into the Super Bowl and you're just going to be like, Patrick Mahomes, man, he just had an off night. Man, Andy Reid just had an off night from play calling. And Spags, I don't know what his game plan was, but it wasn't the right one. It's so hard for me to see that that's even remotely a possibility. We haven't even seen it the whole season. Compare that to the Eagles, you can say that technically. So that's why this game can kind of get messy. And again, in terms of streaks and stuff like that, well, you could say the same thing. Well, that the Philadelphia Eagles haven't lost a game since Jalen Hurts, since week whatever, as long as Jalen Hurts started the game and finished the game, the Eagles haven't lost, since week 4 or whatever it is. And so you can say, oh, the Chiefs haven't given up, a 100-yard game to a running back in the last 18. Like, all that stuff is all well and good, but like, does it doesn't really matter. Like, using streaks as a frame of reference, or in terms of like, they can be used as a frame of reference, not so much as a predictor for what the future will happen. And again, it also all depends on what do the Philadelphia Eagles want to do. Do they want to go all in and make sure that they have that run game established, or are they totally comfortable being like, that's fine, you want to take away Saquon, it's fine, you're going to have to leave other things open for us, and we are going to expose that. We are going to make you reach a point by the second quarter or the third quarter that you now have to choose, Jalen Hurts keeps torching us with A.J. Brown and Devontae because we keep going all in on Saquon. We have to kind of now, we have to do both now. And now you try to do both, and now Saquon feasts. Like, that's going to be the kind of balance and kind of freestyle of the Philadelphia Eagles and, Kellen Moore. So, all interesting stuff from my viewpoint. All interesting stuff. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think it's a guarantee that the Kansas City Chiefs will be able to hold Barkley under 100 yards? And do you think it matters? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.